But banks are not up on RV parks like they are a multifamily, like say other multifamily, like storage units, apartment buildings. So I've told several lenders, and we haven't had a problem getting loans on them, but there's a lot of lenders that second guess lending. The only reason they look at us is because we have strong financials. If we didn't have strong financials, they wouldn't even look at it. They don't even have it in their portfolios.
There's a lot of moving parts in RV parks, and it's a lot easier to make mistakes in RV parks. It's probably a lot easier to mismanage those than an apartment complex.
So that's where they look at it. But our business model is totally different than most people's business models. There's plenty of guys doing it like us, but we do more long-term stays. So we flip it and go, instead of we have 100 pad park, instead of having 100 moving pieces, we go, we're going to have 80% long-term. So that cash flow is consistent. Those people stay there.
Smart.
Right? And then we put good park rules in place, good management in place, run a tight ship, leave the other 20% for icing on the cake to get transient, fast money. So, we actually have turned a more transient, more moving piece property to a more stable long-term play. And it's worked well for us. And now banks are starting to understand. But if you look back 15 years at self-storage, that's the same thing you have now with RV parks. People are sleeping on them. And eventually that's when people are going to catch on, right? And we've been just going to town on them for the past 2.5 years.
What percentage of your portfolio is RVs?
Oh, man, 75% now. I've sold some stuff off just to buy more. Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's nothing that compares to it on cash flow. Nothing.
What do you think your average income is per RV park?
Man,
do you shoot for 12%, 8%?
Well, I'll tell you this. We shoot for 25% returns for our investors, and we keep 80% of the deal.
Right.
So if
that's your IRR though. But what about what do you think your average net operating income is? If you chopped all your pieces up, divided them equally, do you think you're operating at 8%, 12%, 10%? Across the board? And that's not factoring in debt, like your cap rate, I guess.
So are you asking about cap rate, or are you asking what we're making on a net return?
Cap rate, let's make it easy.
So cap rate, so this is what we look for. We buy a lot of deals at double-digit cap rates already, right? So we may buy it at a 12 to 14% cap rate and take it into the 20s.
What are some strategies that you use to value add that?
All right, and I'll tell you this real quick. So if we find deals in the 12 to 14%, but we can take them into the 20s, which sounds crazy, right? We take them from a 12 to 14% to the 20s. Let me tell you how we do it. One thing is everything we buy has high vacancy. So we're capitalizing on mom and pop RV parks. Simply filling the park up makes it worth so much more money, right? A lot of times these owners are way under rents. They haven't moved rents in 10 plus years. Right. So we'll go to a park that they're getting $250 a month in rent when it should be $800. $650, $750. So we'll go in, we will completely revamp. We will put a new website in. We'll rebrand. We will get rid of bad folks. We will add amenities if we want to add a pool or clean up the pool, clubhouse. We'll put in new roads if need be, plumbing, electrical. And sometimes we don't have to do any of that. Sometimes it's very minimal. And at that point, we start plugging our management in place, and then we start filling the parks. And that's usually about a good 12 to 15 month play. Right. From time we close on the deal to the time we're fully stabilized, ready for refinance.
They're probably about 50% occupied, and when you get a hold of it, it's 75, 80%, right? Maybe more.
Exactly.
Well, you're more long-term. You should be 80, 90 plus percent.
Well, we just did a refinance 2 months ago, and we were over 90%.
That's amazing.
Think about this. If we can take that property and keep it in the mid-teen cap rate, and we can sell it or refi it at 7.5% in Alabama right now. So the gap there is ridiculous.
If you just take it from a 50% occupancy to a 75, that's an extra 25% you just made right
Exactly.
Yeah. I tell people that with the commercial, like say you get a commercial tenant, they're paying $2,000 a month. Just going up on their rent by $500, you just increase the value of that property tremendously.